day, students. My name is Dr. F Gani and I am the primary lecturer for the module English Language Proficiency for Teachers. Welcome to the examination revision for the 2019 academic year. In this examination revision, I cover two sections, namely Section A and Section B. In Section A, I will be looking at a brief summary of each study unit in your study guide. I then proceed to Section B, where I briefly make mention of your examination. I now proceed to Study Unit 1, which discusses the topic of writing as a process. In your writing, you should focus on the process of writing as much as the end product. This means this applies to you as well as your own students. When teaching your own students, you should not merely give them the topic and expect them to produce a final copy of the writing piece. Instead, you should guide them through the process of writing. Ideas for such include asking them to do research on the topic beforehand, providing them with texts regarding the topic, or having class discussions about the topic. In your own writing, a good way for you to use the process approach to writing is to focus on the stages of composition writing. These include pre-writing. In this stage, you generate ideas about the topic. After generating ideas about the topic, you move to drafting, where you write spontaneously about the topic without making any corrections. Thereafter, you move to revision of the topic, where you rewrite your topic, but you could also discuss your topic with peers. And the final stage would include completion of the writing piece, where you produce the final version of your writing. Remember, writing is a journey, and therefore you should follow each step and work through each step carefully, which will allow you to have a finished product. These stages of composition writing can be applied with your own students as well. As you do it with your own writing, you can ask your students to do the same. This sums up Study Unit 1. I now proceed to Study Unit 2, which speaks about the writer's journal. As a teacher, and I'm talking from my own experience as well, it is very beneficial for you to keep a record of your daily activities as a teacher. Writing about professional and academic matters is beneficial for you. It helps you to reflect on your teaching practices, and it is good for improving your writing skills. It is also beneficial in sharpening expression and organization of your thoughts. Through using a writer's journal, you are able to reflect on practices that worked well for you, as well as improve on practices that did not work so well for you. So I would encourage all teachers to keep a writing journal. I now proceed to Study Unit 3. The topic of this study unit is about the structure of written texts. What's important to remember in this unit is the following. Written texts usually contain a number of paragraphs. Each paragraph contains a group of sentences which are related to one topic, and these normally indicate the sections or subdivisions of the piece of writing. If you want to find out what the main idea in each paragraph is, you normally look at the first sentence, which is regarded as your topic sentence. So students, the topic sentence provides the overview of what that specific paragraph will be about. Thereafter, detailed sentences follow, and these detailed sentences support, explain, and give examples about the topic sentence. I now move on to the topic of mind maps, and you might be familiar with this because you are expected to complete a mind map for your assignment 2. So, you may be wondering why I asked you to do a mind map. First, a mind map is beneficial for you because it helps you to thoroughly read a text. Because remember, before you construct a mind map, you need to have a thorough understanding of the text. What we want to see in a mind map is your ability to arrange and present information visually. Now, when you read a text, you will find various paragraphs. One tip I can give you for doing your mind map is to read each paragraph and identify the topic sentence in each paragraph. You then proceed to turning your topic sentence into a keyword. Thereafter, you group all the related pieces of information together. Remember, when doing a mind map, the use of keywords is essential, because in the examination as well, if you are asked to do a mind map, or in any assignment, or even if you are studying, keywords helps you to jog your memory and give you an indication of what each main paragraph was about. That sums up study unit 3. I now proceed to study unit 4. And I want to make mention that I've combined study unit 4 with study unit 12, because study unit 12 speaks to the topic of register, which is covered in study unit 4. These study units speak about text and context, and the importance of audience, situation, and purpose. Now, students, there are various types of texts. Remember, a text need not only be visual or written. You get spoken language, written text, pictures, and so forth. Texts are influenced by a variety of factors. These include the audience, the purpose of the text, the relationship between the speaker and the audience, and the situation in which communication takes place. And I know that you are familiar with these factors because you were asked to cover it in assignment 2. So remember, when reading a text, always take these factors into consideration. Now I move to discussing the issue of register. The register of a text is indicated by the words and the sentence patterns used. Different situations will require a different register in tone. For example, somebody going for a job interview between a prospective employer, you would find that the register is more formal, whereas two friends having a discussion about what they did over the weekend would require a more informal type of register. Remember, when understanding register, it is also important to understand the issue of tone. Now, tone is related to the feeling, the attitude of the writer. So examples of tone would be friendly, personal, impersonal. If you are trying to identify the tone of a text, look at words to help you. That sums up study unit 4. I now proceed to study unit 5, which speaks about the techniques for reading written texts. Now, the first technique I would like you to be aware of is the pass idea. And this is a strategy to develop critical reading skills. Because remember, as a student, we do not merely want you to read, we want you to read and think about the text critically. So if you refer to study unit 5, you will find detailed information about the pass idea. The next type of reading strategy is skimming. Now, skimming it's fast reading, which gives you a general impression about the texts. And there are 3 uses for skimming. The first one is skimming to preview. This is when you read a text and you decide, is the text suitable for you? So you would quickly go through the text and ask yourself, am I interested in this article or book? Does it cover the topics I am working for? So for example, in an assignment, if you are given a topic and you're looking for information, previewing will help you decide if the information will be useful for you in answering the assignment question. The next use for skimming is skimming to survey. And here you read through the text to decide what are the main ideas or points of a text. The final use for skimming is skimming to review. And I think as a student you would also make use of this purpose of skimming, where you go over work that you've previously revised, meaning you're mainly doing revision of what you previously read. The final type of reading strategy that I will be discussing is scanning. Scanning is very fast reading where you are looking for something specific. Examples of scanning for information include looking for examination results, looking through a table of contents, using your dictionary, and so forth. You will find that you use scanning in your daily life. This brings me to the end of Study Unit 5. I now proceed to Study Unit 6, which speaks about the use of a dictionary. Students, remember, although we have the internet with vast sources of information where you can easily access the spelling of words and the meaning of words, the use of a dictionary is still very important for you and for the learners in your classroom. Dictionaries are useful for improving your reading comprehension as well as your writing. When I speak about reading comprehension, say for example you are reading through a text and you come across unfamiliar vocabulary. You can take out your dictionary and look up the meaning of the word. By doing so, you're not only building your own vocabulary bank, but you're also improving your reading comprehension. Now that you've improved your vocabulary bank, when writing your assignments, when writing letters to parents, for example, in your teaching practice, you can draw from your vocabulary bank. If you look at Study Unit 6, there are various activities for you to complete. And I assume that you've already completed these activities, but if you haven't, please complete them as it will improve your own dictionary skills and also help you expose you to the different types of information available in a dictionary. This sums up Study Unit 6. We will now look at the techniques for reading graphic texts, which can be found in Study Unit 7. This study unit is all about visual literacy. You might be wondering why it is important for you to be visually literate. But if you think about the world that we are living in today, and the amount of visual images we are exposed to, it is important to become visually literate. Examples of visual images include cinema, television, photography, graphics, comics, cartoons, and so forth. Interpreting maps, graphs, and tables are also part of visual literacy. If you look at Study Unit 7, there are various activities for you to improve that helps you understand your visual literacy. If I give you a practical example of the world we live in, if you think about social media such as Instagram and Facebook, you will realize that people use visual images to communicate various messages. So, becoming visually literate is beneficial for you as well as your students. I now move to Study Unit 8 and 9, which speaks to the topics of listening and talk in the classroom. If we think about the classroom, students and your learners, the most important thing I want you to remember as a teacher in terms of talk in the classroom is that you must have interaction and open channels of communication in your classroom. So what does this mean on a practical level? This means that as a teacher, you are not the only one doing the talking. Instead, you engage your students in the classroom. You ask them questions, you ask their opinions, you ask for feedback. In other words, your classroom becomes a place where students communicate freely and openly. I now move on to the aspect of listening. Your study guide makes mention of 4 types of listening. These include appreciative listening, informative listening, evaluative listening, and empathetic listening. So it's important, and you can read up more about these types of listening in your study guide. As a teacher, as much as talk and communication is important in the classroom, so is listening. And there are various components to listening. These include focusing, comprehending, and responding. It is worthwhile for you to thoroughly read through these sections as it gives you ideas for how to get your own students to become active listeners. Because remember, we want our students to not only hear the message, we want them to listen, meaning we want them to take something away from what you have discussed with them. And a way of doing that is referring to the components of listening. Also, as a teacher, you need to be aware that there are several impediments to listening. So you need to read through those sections in your study guide. Furthermore, you need to get your students to become good listeners. And your study guide offers several tips for developing good listening habits. Lastly, as much as you want your students to listen, as a teacher, it is important for you to listen to the learners in your classroom. Therefore, I would like you to read the section which speaks to the teacher as listener. This brings me to the end of study unit 8 and 9. I now proceed to study unit 10, which speaks to the topic of questioning. Students, as you know, it is essential for students to engage their students in questioning. Questioning allows you to gauge whether your students have understood what you have taught them. And questioning your students can be done in a variety of ways. First, you get open types of questions, where you pose a question to a student. This type of question, it's open by nature, meaning that the student, any answer is appropriate. You also get closed type of questions. With a closed type of questions, you are expecting a particular type of answer from your students. There are various levels of classroom questions. These include recall questions, processing questions, and application questions. I encourage you to go to study unit 10 and read up more about these types of questions. Your study unit 10 also provides you with examples of how to phrase recall questions, processing questions, and application questions. Remember, as a teacher, it is essential to ask your students questions at different levels. I now move on to the characteristics of good questions. There are several characteristics of good questions which can be found in study unit 10. Your study unit 10 also speaks to questions asked by learners, which your learners can ask you. And finally, there's a checklist in study unit 10, which you can use when doing questioning in your own classroom. So please refer to study unit 10 for more information about these topics. I now proceed to study unit 11, which speaks about talking as part of group work. Remember, if you'd like your students to do group work, work in groups in your classroom, it is essential for every learner in the group to communicate. So getting learners to communicate in group work involves the following. You would encourage ideas, you focus on a direction, you categorize and evaluate ideas, and students make a decision. So these four will help get the students talking in the group, even the quiet students. If you read up in study unit 11, you will find more information regarding how to get learners to communicate in a group setting. You would also find information about the roles which contribute to the work completed in a group, as well as the atmosphere in a group setting. Remember, if you want learners to work in a group setting, you want them to produce work, and your study unit provides you with tips and ideas for how to do this. Also, you want the atmosphere in the group to be productive. You want all learners to participate in the group. So I encourage you to read more about this in study unit 11. Finally, if you are working in a classroom, you might find challenges arise in a group setting. Remember, it's different learners working together with different personalities and different ideas. So you might find that challenges do arise in a group setting. And your study guide provides you with tips for overcoming these challenges in the form of solutions. So I encourage you to please read study unit 11 as well. This brings me to the end of the study unit's students, which was just a very brief overview of each study unit. I still encourage you to read through each study unit thoroughly in preparation for your examination. I now move on to section B, in which I give you a note about the examination. And I am confident that you are well on your way to preparing for your examination. For information regarding feedback about your assignment 1, 2, as well as preparation for your examination, I have prepared a tutorial letter 201. This tutorial letter can be found on my UNISA under the official study materials tab. I encourage you to thoroughly study tutorial letter 201 as it provides you with guidelines for the examination as well as constructive feedback to your assignment 1 and assignment 2. I wish you all the best in the preparation for your examination. Should you require any other information, please do not hesitate to contact me using my details, which can be found in your tutorial letter 101, but which I also provide in this examination revision. Once again, all the best for your examination. I thank you.